Chapter 2. A brief overview of some perplexing details that would confuse even the most sophisticated mind. A flashlight was found on the tent. Even if the hikers were in complete panic, it is unlikely they would have left it behind. A flashlight is indispensable at night. It looked as if it had been placed there, not dropped, as it lay on freshly fallen snow. Therefore, it was not left there by the hikers. What, then, was inside the tent? A ski pole was found, cut with a knife. A healthy person in a rational state of mind would never damage a ski pole, especially without a spare. Doroshenko's and Krivonishenko's burnt hands and feet are also puzzling. Even when freezing, a person would not thrust their limbs directly into a fire. A strange, pointless platform structure was built without a fire. How much strength was wasted constructing it instead of maintaining a strong fire? How could people with broken ribs manage to build it? The fire itself was just a faint glow. Thick branches about the thickness of an arm were only partially burned, yet there was plenty of dry wood nearby, which could have been used to sustain a strong fire. There are dozens of such odd questions. Why did Rustem Slobodin turn gray? But let's return to the main question. What frightened the group so badly? Vadim Brusnitsin, who participated in the search for the missing group, reflected, "Your tent is your home, your fortress. Nothing would drive me out of it. If something suspicious happens outside, I would look, assess the situation, but not run away. I would stay in the tent." Thus, the idea that the Dyatlov group members simply fled in panic due to infrasound or some invisible horror is just a fairy tale. And yet, they fled. How and why? Signs indicate that inside the tent, people were calmly preparing dinner. Pieces of food had been cut. Thus, the threat came from outside. Most likely, someone from the group, perhaps Rustem Slobodin, went outside to relieve himself and saw something terrifying. He screamed. Why is it assumed it was Rustem? When his relatives saw his body, they were shocked. His hair had turned gray. Neither forensic experts nor rescuers noticed it, but his family did. Hair can turn gray instantly due to extreme emotional shock and fear of death, even in young people. Therefore, Rustem likely experienced unimaginable terror and died near the tent. He didn't even make it to the cedar tree. When dying from cold, a person feels fear, but rarely experiences indescribable horror. What could have triggered such sudden, deadly fright? There are many examples where people's hair turned gray instantly. Boys playing on railway tracks, and one was almost hit by a train. A young man whose father was sentenced to death. After a fake execution, he turned gray within a few days. A woman who lost her child under a truck. At a school, a raging dog attacked children, and one boy's hair turned gray from fear. During the Chechen War, many young soldiers returned home with gray hair. Thus, Rustem might have seen something so horrifying that his hair turned gray on the spot. His scream transmitted the terror to those still inside the tent. What could Rustem have seen? Did someone frighten him, or did everything happen differently? This is what researchers have been trying to understand for decades. The Dyatlov group members were experienced hikers. They were not easily frightened. In the summer of 1956, student Natalia Sharnina wrote in her diary about a hike with Igor Dyatlov and Zina Kolmogorova through the southern Urals. Morning, the sun is shining. While walking along the riverbank through tall grass, suddenly a terrible roar sounded behind us. We stopped. A herd of horses was charging at us. The first instinct was to run, but Igor firmly commanded, "Stay where you are." We huddled together, and the horses, without slowing down, split and rushed past us on both sides. Everything quickly calmed down. Dyatlov's reaction was quick and rational. What prevented him from acting the same way that night in 1959? Another story. Evgeny Zinoviev, who studied with Dyatlov, recalled an evening during a hike when a large bear approached the camp. Yuri Doroshenko screamed and, without hesitation, rushed at the bear with a geological hammer in his hand. The group joined him, shouting and waving their tools, and the bear fled. At that time, Doroshenko showed courage and did not fear. What prevented him from acting similarly on that tragic night? Or did he act, but the circumstances were too overwhelming? And then there was Semyon Zolotaryov, a frontline veteran, participant in the Battle of Stalingrad. He had faced death and horrors many times and continued to fight with bravery. Colonel Mukhin's commendation sheet for Zolotaryov's Order of the Red Star states, "Senior Sergeant Zolotaryov, under heavy enemy fire, helped assemble a ferry and transport soldiers across the river. When one comrade was wounded, he replaced him and, with his courage, inspired others to speed up the work. Even when one of the bridge components was broken, he went into the water up to his waist to retrieve it." Zolotaryov had looked death in the face many times. Did he freeze in terror that night too? Or were the circumstances beyond any human ability to respond?